Welcome guys, welcome back to this process of learning a Python from very basics to almost all the internal concept in the right way. From last few classes, we was discussing about the oops concept. Okay, and I tried to explain you the oops in a way the way it has been designed for, right? It is not only I'm just giving you the keyword like classes and inheritance and subclasses and parent and child and something like this. I'm just trying to relate why we have oops and what is a use case and means where we have to use oops, right? So finally, if you go for my last two classes on the classes, or I can say oops object oriented programming, I think now you can conclude if you have to organize data. Okay, organize a data, and the data has a similar kind of I can use the word property here. Okay, so the best way to organize and best way to plan or manage is to create a classes or to create a class. So class is a template and blueprint, or the way I took the example, it is a one kind of initial plan we have done in like a soft copy that you plan. Like for example, I took the example of visitor. so you guys know, if you guys go through my last classes, what I'm talking about, right? So it means if you talk about my one of the topic that I took in this training about functions, and there I talk a little bit about lambda, or I can say anonymous function, and try to convey one information over there, over there, that there's one more programming paradigm we have, that is called functional programming. Okay, so now a lot of guys is always argue which one is good. Does we go for functional programming, or does we go for object oriented programming? So according to my experience and the real world kind of code that we worked on, okay, I've seen everything work together actually. Maybe in the code we'll try to write entire logic in one line, so that anybody can, while reading this particular line, right? For example, there might be requirement, we have some kind of data, and I would like to clean the data or transform the data, or maybe we have some data come up as a name, for example, and I want to convert the name into email IDs. So whatever the thing would be. So you always try to create a logic, okay, in one single line. So one single line will do the entire that particular use case for you. So that is a one of the idea behind the functional programming that makes your program more clean. Anybody by looking at one statement, they come to know what exactly you're planning for, and something like this. So in my those classes I've talked about this. Okay, so it means if you're creating a Python program, there's one single program. All right, so in this program, if you think there would be a lot of data come up from different objects, and you want to arrange all the data okay, in some way that everybody has their own room and space, this is called namespace, or I can say the instance. So write a code and manage everything in the class. But same thing, in the classes we have a method, right? And method is doing something for us, but inside the method, right, why you're creating the method? To do something. Maybe if somebody is passing the name, and you might have to attach the company domain name in their first name and last name. Okay, maybe something else, right? So there, the way you write a logic to convert your data or convert your something that's called transform in some other format, or maybe data cleaning or data preparation, depending guys which domain you are in. Okay, so inside the method we can go for programming, we can go for functional programming concept. So technically okay, if you combine these two classes of lambda and classes, you come to know both the guys can work with each other. Both are solving a different use case. So one single program, one single app, or one single software all the logics of ops and all the logics of functional programming you can use. But if you say and anybody say what to use functional programming or object oriented, it means they don't have a proper idea what exactly we have to solve. Okay, so guys, can you hold for a second? So finally, I believe if you use functional and ops together, it makes more sense. So if you start preparing and writing and working on some projects, you try to use both. Depend what kind of thing you want to solve that point in time in this and that particular programming file, right? So today again we will again continue with the object oriented. Okay, and what actually I'm going to do, I'll talk to some more advanced thing about object oriented. So today we are going to talk about what is static method, what is class method, what is general method, what is super instances, how you call, and something like this. Okay, so what I mean by this, while writing the code you come to know. So I'm directly guys jumping to my my code, and while writing the code you come to know what exactly we are doing today. So I'm directly guys jumping to my code. Okay, and let me launch Jupyter, or you can use any of the IDE, whatever you feel like. Important thing is the Python syntax, and we need Python interpreter. Okay, so now what I'm doing here, let me tell you one very common use case, or maybe this is the one of the things you guys might thinking to solve according to my yesterday example. So technically, the example that I'm talking about, let's say one of the visitor come to our company. Let's say it is Jack, and it is a unique guy. So I can say this is one of my object, and they come to my company and they say I'm a visitor. So we will provide a visitor form. You guys know it is a class. And what this class say, if anybody who filled this visitor form, I will ask their name, I will ask their last name, or I will ask maybe their phone number. Okay, so that's what they have done. But maybe Jack say, I also I am not only the visitor, I also want to join in your company as an employee. So for this we have created one employee form. Okay, and we know, because lots of information we have already gathered about the Jack from the visitor form, these information. So asking this information again doesn't make any sense. So what we'll do, all this information we will grasp from this visitor form or visitor class. So in this way, you guys know this is called inheritance. So we can inheritance all those information. And in this case, this class is known as parent class. Okay, or maybe sometime it is known as base class. And this class is known as child class, and this is also sometimes known as a subclass. Okay, but why we are inheriting? You guys now understand. I took multiple example already, but in this class, right? Jack said, no, I want to work in a company, so I just want to directly fill the form of employee. Okay, so these three information, or these three variables, you already I can inherit from the visitor. And guys, in the class world, these variables is also known as property. So these property, guys, I already fill from, or I only grasp from the visitor class. But employee is one more form. So anybody who join in a company as an employee, I also want to store one more extra variable or one more extra property. Or property, maybe let's say title, or the position or the job title. Okay, so what is your job title? You are joining as executive or HR or manager. What is your post? I want to add also here. So technically, what I wanted, if Jack want to join as an employee, rather than they fill the visitor form directly, I can ask Jack, you can do one thing, you can fill the employee form directly. But if you fill the employee form, because this form is been inherited by a visitor, so I will give you two form. This form will ask you these information and this form will ask you this information. So totally in your a room in your form, in your space, that's called namespace, and it also, guys, is known as instance. So in your instance, on your RAM, you finally will store 4 information and 4 property about you. Okay, so how to inherit, you guys know, but how to add extra property in your subclass, that is one of my main topic. If you guys remember my yesterday class, this part we haven't done. I only show you how to inherit and how to retrieve all the values from here and all the functions from here. Okay, but if you want to add extra property in your subclass or child class, how we can do, that's what I am going to show you right now first. Okay, so let's do very quickly. Let's create the same thing again. I am creating a class, or can say form. Here is visitor is my base class, and I say I'm creating a function. This is an init function, so you guys know is a constructor. Okay, so anybody call this constructor, they will pass their address of the RAM, and here they store their first name, they store their last name, or they store their mobile number. Where they store in their space. So in the space, we create a variable called first name, and we get the value from here. In the space, we create a variable called last name. We get the value from last variable, and here we get a variable called mobile. We get the value from mob. Okay, so something like this. So anybody who call this, they will store this information. Okay, now one more thing, guys, I just want to tell you here is, okay, to properly understand this part. Okay, right now classes is just a template, is just a way to tell what and how I want to organize my information, right? So it is just a template, but whenever the new object come up, let's say Jack, so we give a one independent name space or instance on the RAM. So all the information that filled by Jack or for the Jack instance would be stored here. For example, first name, last name, and mobile number. This part you guys know, and yesterday also probably they have their own personal space. Okay, but important thing here to notice, guys, after you fill the information, okay, maybe in the future we might have a requirement we might have a requirement to go to the space of the Jack, retrieve the mobile number, and send the SMS. Okay, so we might have a requirement to send the SMS. Or maybe we have a requirement to go to the room of or the instance of the Jack and fill and pick their first name and the last name. Maybe somebody wanted to know the full name of Jack, so I say Jack XYZ is a full name. So there might be requirement where I want to go and pick the full name of the Jack. Okay, but guys, in this both the case, what you're trying to what I'm trying to convey you here is, it means if you want to send the SMS, first you have to go to the room and the space of Jack, get the mobile number or retrieve the mobile number, and then send. So technically, first you have to get the mobile number, and if you want to also want to put in the full name, you have to first get the the first name and the last name. Okay, so that is the reason we for this we can create one extra function, right? This function will get the mobile number and and send the SMS. This will get the full name and first name and last name and combine together and provide me the full name. Okay, and that is the reason, right? Instead we use the word function here. Okay, we use the word called method. Both the things are same, the syntax is same, but method looks pretty clear that we are creating a method for get, and this method is doing something on my data. Function, we use the word normally if we want to add a functionality. Both are same. If you directly create a function, if you create inside the method, also in the inside the class is known as method. Both are same, but typically why they might use the word method here, because mainly if you say method always have a capability and we always do something on the data, and for doing something we always get the thing. But there might be some method they will do something. For example, maybe right now because according to my this example, right, they might be Jack might using employee class, and because of the employee class they have a capability to add extra property. So in their box we can add one more property called title. So initially guys, maybe they might join the company with the name called title called maybe executive. Okay, but maybe maybe as a support guy, but maybe or maybe associate. But maybe after some year he promote to the new job or new title, I can say. Okay, so I want some kind of functionality or some kind of method that has a capability to go in their space in their space and update, okay, or I can say set the new title. So we can create one more function that has a capability to set or change the title. Okay, so this kind of method is known as set kind of method, and this kind of method known as get kind of method. So typically while planning your class, you have to plan all those things. Okay, which all property you want to put in your space, and on those property what information you want to retrieve, what information you want to give as a capability to change accordingly. That much method you can create here. Okay, so so guys, this thing is known as setter and the getter and setters, which is a very common thing that you always create inside the class. So what I'm talking about, maybe I'm creating a function. My plan is to, for example, get full name. You can give any name. It's just a normal name, by default name, means random name I'm giving here. So anybody who call this function, or I can say call this method, first of all, they will tell me their space or namespace where and which address of the RAM they are they have stored their data. Okay. Then I can just go and retrieve their first name, plus I will retrieve their last name, right? And maybe here I can add some extra space to properly format. Okay. So the duty of this method or the function is to do what? Because we are just retrieving the name. So typically this kind of method is known as getter method. Okay, but if you see guys here, this method we have to pass the address of my instance. For example, Jack say my instance has one address, for example 1234 in the RAM. So I'm passing my address of this room, so my function will go or my method will go and retrieve the thing. Okay, and that is the reason this kind of method is known as instance method. But there's two more kind of method we have. This is called class method and static method. So what is this? I will explain you in a minute. But till date guys, all the method we have created from the first day of my ops concept, till date we have created a general method and also known as instance method. Okay, but any of the method you create, okay, either their duty is to do something on data, to retrieve, or maybe to change. For example, they might be requirement that somebody want to change the mobile number. Maybe obviously the first name last name normally we don't change, but mobile number might be changed. So we can create a method called set mobile. So somebody will pass their address where they are located, and what they do, whatever the mobile number they have, I want to update their mobile number, let's say this new mobile. And obviously guys, if you are setting something new, you have to pass this information. So I can pass new mobile number. So the guy who will call this method, they will give me address, that is by default always go. Okay, and they will give you some more information here, means their new mobile number, and will get this new mobile number and update there in their space. So again, this is the instance method. So instance, because why instance? Because we are passing the address. Why? Because we are using self, we are passing the address of the Jack or maybe Tom or XYZ. Okay, and we are doing something on their space. Okay, but this method is known as getter because we are getting something, or this method is setter because we are setting something. So mostly whatever method you create, always we do something on data, because class is more about organizing the information. And why you organizing? Because in the future you want to either want to get or you want to set. Okay, so typically what a method you always create, mostly 99.99% you always want to do something get and set. Okay, so this class has been created. Or my company, according to my company hierarchy, they want I have more form or more classes want to create, but this would be inherit or child class. I already explained to you. So let me create one more class called employee, but this guy will inherit from visitor. Visitor. Okay, and what this class do? This class, now guys, here new thing come up for today. If you use this class, let me use pass. Pass means in this class it is an empty kind of form, nothing is there, the way I explained you the analogy in my last class. So it means if Jack come and Jack say I want to work in a company as employee, but employee say I am the part of the class called visitor. And how we know? So there's one way to check. So if you see the help is one function in Python, and if you see the help of employee, okay, so what it'll show you? It show you hierarchy. It show you hierarchy. Employee is a child class. Okay, and this child class is a part of this class, and this class may be part of some other class. So there is some internal class of Python, and everything you do in the Python is always come from some base class. Okay, so you see here, if you run help, okay, and what they talk about, that they talk about the detail of the employee, and it's very clear employee is a child of visitor. Even though if you see here, they give the entire order. So employee is a child of visitor, visitor child of some kind of inbuilt object of Python, right? Because everything is inside the Python is object, especially Python version 3. So they show you the entire hierarchy. Okay, and this kind of hierarchy is known as method resolution. So if you want to see the entire method resolution, for example, there might be possibility employee also have one child. So they show you the complete hierarchy. This is child of employee, employee child of this one, this is one child of this one. So an entire complete hierarchy you can see from this help function. Okay, plus they also show you, because employee is a part of visitor, so you can see very clearly, okay, what method or what properties employee can use. Okay, because they are inherited, so all the properties and all the method employee can use. So you can see here they can use the constructor, they can use this method, they can use this method, right? Everything they have inherited. Okay, so it has been very clearly seen from the help function. Okay, so it's sometimes very helpful, this function, while learning, or maybe you guys are using somebody else class, you can see the order in which order they have created. Okay, and sometimes when you do function or method overriding, you come to know it is overridden or which part they are using. So this help is always a good help over here. Okay, but let's say we have Jack come up and they say I want to be employee. Okay, but obviously it's fail, I told you already, because this call visitor, and visitor say it is compulsory to pass this 3 information. So Jack is passing the information. Let's say my first name is Jack, my last name is XYZ, for example, and my mobile number is, let's say, 111. But I told you guys in my function classes, okay, why you give a function parameter a proper name? Okay, because you can go for named argument. Okay, so what I mean name argument. So what is name argument? 1 minute. So what is name argument, you guys know. So 1 minute. So we can, instead we write a Jack, we can write first name equals to this one. Okay, last name. This is good practice. I told you in my function classes. Even though if you see the shift tab, you can see all the argument come up here. Okay, so it's good practice, guys. Always call in this way so that you can call in any order. So this concept I already explained you in my function classes. Okay, so finally it's done, because I don't have a name, I have a last actually. So this is a last. Okay, it's done. And now if you see the room namespace of Jack, you guys know this command I told you yesterday. So in the Jack namespace 3 information we have stored. But because why Jack want to, because if Jack want to store this three information, they can directly call visitor also, right? Visitor can also have capability to store this three information. Okay, so why Jack want to call employee class or employee form? Because employee give me more capability. Okay, employee can give me to give capability to store the title also. Okay, so what I want, guys, whenever Jack call the employee class, they can fill this four information plus I want to add extra one more information like for example title. Okay, and for this employee has to again create their own constructor. So they have to define their own constructor like this, again self, and here they can pass title. Okay, title, and again they say in myself the title would be title. Okay, or let's say title job title something. Okay, let me remove this part. So technically, okay, so in the employee we have defined one more parameter. So technically, if you talk about a visitor, they have a three parameter or three property or three attribute. Technically, these guys are known as property. But anybody who go to my employee class, they have one property. Okay, let's see what happened. Now, if I again run this code, okay, and if I run this code, it failed. Or if I try to run to add the title also, let's say my title is I am a manager, for example. Again, fail. Okay. So technically, you know why this is failing? Okay, because obviously employee has this property that I'm using, and employee also subclass visitor. And visitor has this three property. So technically, I should use all this four property. But what error is coming up? They say you are trying to use an argument or property called first, but I don't know about this one. Now, even though if you try to see the help also, help also, what you see, okay, if you call employee is a child of visitor, no doubt. Okay, but the constructor has to only and has understood only one single property called title. One single property. And if you see, guys, there is no property. There is no property known as first and last and mobile number. Why? Because I already explained you in my yesterday class. If you if you use a function, it might be constructor, but it's function or method. If you use the same method that is already available in your parent class, if you use the same method, then whatever things available in your parent class, it will override. What a function available in the parent class, if you use the same function name, maybe constructor, you will override. And guys, this concept is called function or the method override. Or because we override, it means now employee don't know anything about these property. And that is the reason. If you try to see the help of employee by shift tab, you come to know only title they have. It means you have only capability to store the title. Okay, only title you can store. Okay, but if you only want to store title, okay, and you want to that's okay. But if you want to store these guys also, okay, that is already available in visitor class. So how can you do? So either you can store title or either you can store these names. So either Jack can call this class or Jack can be object of this class. So there is no meaning of inheritance what we are understanding from the last few classes. So my requirement is what we have to do. Okay, I want okay, Jack will call the employee class only. Okay, but this class, because is inherit from visitor, so I want these employee class will call all the property in the visitor, or plus they add one more property. Okay, I want this. I don't want the override. Okay, so I want this kind of capability. And for this use case and this kind of challenge, what we are having to solve this use case, what we have to do, if you think your child class going to add more property, and this is a very common thing, and you want to reuse all the property from your parent class that you define inside your init. So what can you do? For this, there's one thing you have to do. Okay, and what you have to do, that you tell your employee class, and you guys know employee class is a child class, and visitor is a parent class, and sometimes this class is also known as super class. So for the employee, visitor is a super class. So what can we do? We'll tell here employee that we are not going to create our own personal init function, because this function is already there in my visitor class. If I create, it will override. If I override, I can't able to call their parameter. Okay. Instead, I create same thing. What I'll do, I'll use a function called super. Super means I'll go to my super class, and there we have already defined a function called init, and I'm asking my init function, whatever the parameters you have or properties you have, just give me exactly the same. And that's what, guys, our plan is, right? The plan, the way why I want to create a subclass or child class, because whatever we have defined in this form, in this class, I don't want to repeat. I want to give a good user experience. Okay, or maybe good management of my code on data also. So I want all those property will be come to me. This by default come, but here they come to me as it is, and then I want to add one more property. Okay, one more property, and where? Obviously in my room. Okay, so so how can you add this? So I say in my room, I want to add one more property. Okay, so for example, I want to add title, for example. So in my room, I would like to add one more property called title. Okay, so so title would be, let's say job title. Okay, so but challenge here is, it means all these three property exactly come from parent. In my room, I'm going to add one more property, because this is the way we always create extra property, right? Here also we create the same way, but how this value come from? Okay, so for this again, we can put all this entire code again in the same function called init. Because obviously, guys, if somebody directly call the employee class, the way we are calling here, let me show you employee class. And guys, you know, whenever any class call, you want some function to be automatic run. Okay, so that function is always a constructor. Okay, and they always pass their address. But now this time, okay, we also ask them to pass these three values again, and one more value called title. Okay, and let me indent this guy like this. So technically, let me again explain what exactly we are doing here. Okay, so guys, if I comment this line, till here everything is very clear, because we always do. So anybody who call employee class, okay, this constructor run, we will pass our address, and we'll ask them to give me first name, last name, and mobile number and title. Okay, but I want these three parameter. I don't want to define here. Okay, because this three parameter is already there in my super class, and they know how to manage their address. I want we will pick from there. And how you set this? For this, you have to write this line. So go to my parent class. In the parent class, we have an init function there. And all this parameter I want to retrieve from there here. So technically, you can think these three lines of code, you can think in this way, come up here. And plus here I add some extra property that's called title. Okay, so if you want to add a new property in your subclass and want to use obviously your all the parent properties, okay, so this is the one. There might be other trick also you can do, but this is one of the very typical way we do in in Python. Now if again check the help, okay, again this employee is a part of visitor class, but now you can see this guy has a capability to retrieve all the four property. All the four property, okay, they can retrieve, but without defining here we are getting from the parent class. Even though if you see the help, you can see all the property you have. Now we can very quickly type. So I say my first name is, let's say, Jack, my last name is, let's say, XYZ, and my mobile number is, let's say, 1234 5. Okay, so everything is stored. But here in the Jack room or namespace, this 3 and 4 property is stored in the room, but this 3 property is managed by parent class or allocated by parent class or planned by or organized by parent class, and last property is planned by the subclass, because subclass is created for the employee. And similarly we can create some more subclasses. Maybe your company have a students, they have their sales guys and customers, so they create a respective class, and every subclass might have these things common but some extra field you want to add. Okay, so guys, this is use of super keyword and super concept come in play in this kind of use, and very commonly this is a very common use case. Okay, but obviously if you go for employee, okay, so all the method whatever you have in a parent class will come up, that I already told you. So I can ask Jack Jack, I want to get the full name of yours, so full name come up, and this property guys is a instance method. So this method is instance method, and we got this instance method from our parent class. But you can create your own further method here, right? For example, here we can create a method called get or maybe let's say set title. Okay, and we pass our address, and we say if somebody use this has a way to set the job title as a new title, and obviously you have to pass the new title over here. So right now if you talk about Jack, the current title of the Jack is manager. Okay, you can see manager. Okay, but if you want to change the title of the Jack, they can call set title and they can pass, now I am working as executive or maybe developer or senior developer. Okay, now again if you run this thing, the job title change. So some method we create as setter, some method we create as a getter, because normally class, again I told you the same thing, class is a way to organize data for individual guys or objects. So we need something to change and update, even though we can directly change also the way I told you in my first class, jack.job title. We can directly get also in this way, or we can set in this way also, let's say ABC. Okay, so we can do in this way also, but it's not good practice actually to directly using the property change it. It's always good practice to use a function. Okay, that's so we can set also in this way, Python give this option, and we can get also in this way, Python give this option, but it's not good practice in terms of good planning and practice of the code. Always good practice to create a function, because normally right now we are learning the Python and the typing the code, but maybe this code will run behind some application, mobile app or maybe web app, and there we create one button. So I want whenever any button click, this function run, whenever button click, this function run. Okay, so it's good practice guys in terms of management also. Okay, because maybe our requirement is not to only get full name, maybe get mobile number and send the message. So we get the mobile number and send the message, we have to write some more code. So putting everything inside the function and the method is always a good practice. Okay, so guys, this is one concept I just want to tell you. So there was one more thing guys, I just want to update here. That is, so till now guys, whatever function we have created is called, or method we have created is called instance method. Instance method. Okay, but I told you yesterday also, in the object oriented here, we have two main way to organize our data. For example, this is a RAM. So for every instance, we can give their own personal space. Let's say this is the space for Jack. Jack is stored their property. This is space for Tom. Tom store their property. But there may be some common property where we have some common area and we put the property there. Okay, so these properties or these variables are known as instance variable, and these common or global variables are known as class variable. I told you guys already this part. Okay, this part. So for example, how to create class variable, you guys know. We can create directly, for example, anything. For example, let's say a country or region, which region you want to operate this company or this services. Let's say initially I said India. I set it. But I told you guys, whenever you create any variable or property, is always good, to create a method. So I can create one method that can get the current region name. Or we also have to create a method that has a capability to change my region name. Even though we can directly change also the way I show you right now also here. Okay, but it's not good practice. It's always good practice to have a get method or set method. Unless we want our method will go one who will get the thing and who will change the thing. Okay, so technically, if you want to create a function, that has a capability to get a property or the variable that is a class variable. Okay, so if you try to create this property, okay, how you create normally? For example, let me create a property called get region, region, or right, or I can use the word called return region. Okay, so guys, till now what you see, whenever you create a property in the class, it is compulsory to give the self. And why self? I already explain you. Because self is the one who will give the respective object address. So Jack will give their address, Tom will give their address. But now guys, this property is only available in this area, in the class area. Okay. We don't have to give the address of Jack and we don't have to give the address of Tom. Here we have to give the address of the class, where the class located. We have to give the address of the class. Okay, and if you want to give the address of the class, okay, we can give something like this. For example, let's say self is a variable we are using. We can use any variable, but self is a variable we're using for giving the address of the instance. But here we can use one variable called, let's say, CLS, for example. Okay, so this is one new variable create, and what this variable contain? This variable contain the address in the RAM of this class. Okay, and then we'll go for CLS.array. Okay, so technically, if you create any function where we are passing the address of the instance normally by this kind of keyword, then this method is known as instance method. But if you create any method in the class where you're passing the address of your class, so that we can go inside the address of the class, means this common area, and we can retrieve their property, class instances, class properties, or global properties here. Okay, or class variable I can say. So we can go to this area and retrieve those things. So again, this kind of method then known as class method. So there are three different kind of method. One is instance method, one is class method. One more method we have, I will explain you in a minute. Class method. Let's see that is working or we have to do something else. Okay, and now everything worked fine. And now if I say here that I have a visitor class and here we have a function called get a region and I want to retrieve the the region what I have. But guys, now if you see guys, there is one error come up. Error come up. They say you are calling this class, and this class has a one argument called CLS, but you are not passing anything. You're not passing anything. Guys, this is a little bit different than our instance, right? In the instance method we pass, we never give any argument here. By default, the address object automatically goes and automatic fill in the self, and they retrieve for me. But here guys, in the class method, okay, the address of my visitor class is not going, or because they are not going, okay, and that is they are saying you're not sending anything as an argument, but this guy need one argument. And that's what the error come up. So technically in the Python, whenever you create any instance method, directly you can create, because it's very common to create instance method, because this is a very common thing we always do. But whenever you need this kind of requirement where you want to do some changes or getter or setter in your classes, okay, so if you want to create a class method, for this you have to call a special type of keyword. Okay, and that keyword starts with at the rate. Okay, this is the first time in our Python training we are seeing this symbol. Okay, and there we have used some keyword called class method. Okay, and what is this symbol? Very important symbol, and nowadays it's become very common trend in our programming world. In some of the languages, this keyword is called annotation. Okay, annotation. Okay, but in the Python world, this symbol is known as decorator. Okay, so annotation and decorator same thing, but like for example, if you go to Java, there we use the word called annotation. In the Python, we use the word called decorator. Okay, but very powerful concept. Now in a newer programming world, we use this concept a lot. Okay, so what is decorator? My next class would be on decorator, guys. In next weekend, I'll take a separate class on the decorator. We'll discuss there. But whenever you use anything with the at the rate, that is called decorator. And there are a lot of decorator already created. And we can also create our own decorator. But this class method is one of decorator creator. So by this, we are telling this function. We write decorator just before the function. So by this decorator, or by this kind of technique, or this kind of keyword, we are telling to this function that you are not a now normal function, a normal method. Now you become a special method that's called class method. Okay, don't worry about decorator. I will take an exclusive class on the decorator from very basics. Very important class, very advanced class. We'll discuss in my next class. Okay, if I do so, now what happened? Then you see some difference. Okay, the difference is this one. Now in the visitor class, when you call this function, okay, now this function has a capability to retrieve the address of the visitor class. Means they retrieve this address, a common address. Okay, and this address they are passing to this function, and this function is storing this in CLS variable. Is just a variable name. You can put anything, and CLS will go to the area, this common area. And if they find region, and if they find the region, they will return the value. Means they get the value. But this is the way we can create a class method. Okay, same thing if you want to change a region. For example, we can create one more function called set region. We are passing some again variable, let's say maybe CLS. And what we're doing, we are doing whatever area we have, whatever variable we have. I want to change the region. So I want to change a new country name. And from where I get the country name? From here. Okay, but here what we are passing to this function, not the instance address, right? The class address. Okay, for this we have to also make this class class method. We have to create a decorator here, or put the decorator here. Okay, now so now by default every user belongs to India. But if you want to change change my region for this company, I can use set function directly and say let me change the region called US. Now if you see here, the user changed to US. So this is one to get the region, this is one to get the US, change the region. So technically, either you go for class instances, sorry, class variables or instance variable, they are the one who organizing our data. But it is always good to have almost method for either for classes, so class method or instance method, or you can say general method, who will get and set the thing for you. So because classes and oops is actually meant to organize the data. Either you go for C++, Java, or Scala, or Ruby, or Python, whatever where you have oops support, they meant to organize the data. And understand one thing, to organize data, we always use a method. A good practice to use the method, I can say. Okay, either method go here or method go here, either the set, either the get, they always do. If they go here, then method class, they go in the instance called instance method. But there's some method, sometimes we have, okay, they don't have to worry about your data. Sometimes in the class we have to create one method, and some method, very rarely, but sometimes we have to create some method, and that method say I don't have to much interested in your data or in your property. Either you have property in your personal area or in the common area, I don't have to worry about. But because somebody who use my class, they want to do some extra operation. For example, there might be requirement, sometimes you see some website, in the website they put the current time, current date. Okay, or maybe you see some website, they put your current IP address. Okay, so those things is not at all related to our data or the object. So they give some extra functionality, and that functionality, guys, give something to you. Okay, so just for example, if somebody come to you and say, I want to see the current date and current time. Okay, but let me create a function. For example, let's say current time. Okay, so so technically what I wanted here, if somebody call this function, I will return, let's say current time is today is Monday. Okay. Just for example, even though we have function in the Python, they will go and find your current date and time. There's a time date function available that you can date time function available, you can try find by yourself, but I make it fixed, right? So technically, if you see here, this function we have added, maybe you have added a function that they will buzz alarm, and they have one function that will do something else that is not at all related to your data. Neither on your class variable, neither on your instance variable. But this function is doing something for you. Okay. So these kind of function, guys, there's no meaning to pass the reference of your instance, and there's no meaning to pass the reference of your class. Because why you're passing the reference of your of your instance? Because you want to go inside this box to retrieve the data. Or why you're passing the reference of your class? Because you have to go inside here and get some data of this case. But because this function is not at all related to your data, right? We just create it just for a small task or a small thing for in this area. So we can create a function without any argument. But if you create a function without any argument, you know what happened? Let me show you. Okay. Now if you just create, and now if you want to call this function, obviously this is the way normally we call. If you try to call this So guys, I believe I'm audible and you guys listen to me. There's some 2 or 3 minutes of interruption come in between. I don't know what something happened to my laptop. So very quickly, let me open this file, and one very small 1 minute topic is left. So let me complete this part. So what I was talking about, if you think to create a one method in the class that are not actually dealing with any of the data, neither uh, in your class area or not in instance area. And if this is the requirement, then you can create a class directly. But if you do so, what happened? Let me show you. Okay, and if Jack want to try and to see the current date, okay, current date and time. So what happened? This error come up. And obviously guys, it's a very common thing. If you calling any method, Jack will always pass their address. Or because Jack is passing their address, but this function has no variable here to capture, so obviously they fail. But here the intention is, I don't want this function will go and take somebody address of instance with self and class with CLS. I want they don't get any address. Their duty is to do something that's not at all related to data. So in this case, this kind of function, right? This kind of function is known as static function or static method. And to tell this guy you are a static method, again we have to use a decorator. That's called static method decorator. Okay. So a decorator, guys, we will discuss in my next class in detail. But this is the use of the static method that is important to know. Now this function is not going to any of the reference, neither in the class instances or the variable instances. This is independent and anybody can call this guy. If you see guys, now it is working good. So Jack is not passing any reference, they're just calling this function. So it is like a normal typical function. So what a normal typical function you create, it create like this. But if you create this function inside of class, then you tell this function or method is a static method. Okay. So guys, these are 3 different methods available in the classes, and we talk a lot about how to inheritance, super, calling, adding some extra properties. So a lot of guys core concept I explain you about the classes. There might be some more small thing about the classes. So as we go forward in my next topic, so in my next topic, I will pick some small more options available in the classes. We will discuss there. So from next class, guys, I will talk about decorator, and then we will move again back to web technology. So anybody who buys Miss API or CJ classes, we go through those classes, because for my next weekend, I will again move to the web technology, and most probably we will start a new framework called Flask. That is a very powerful framework for the web development. Okay. So that's all for today. Any queries, if you have guys, I'm enabling your chat message. If you have any query, you guys can ask me. Okay, so 1 minute. I am enabling your chat message, and you can ask whatever query you have. So chat is enabled. Any queries you have further, you can ask me. A lot of guys core concept of classes we have discussed. Okay. So main area that I want to touch you is to make you understand this classes is storing your data in their own self space. So just understand the idea of namespace. You can do anything in the classes or in the object world. Any announcement related to somewhat attend? Krishna, no, actually we will soon announce about summer intensive program and what exactly we're offering this year. Okay. Yes, Abhishek, getter and setter method are same in Dart also. See, if you go to any programming world, where you see object and the classes, everywhere we have a getter and the setter. Getter and setter is just a term actually, right? It's just to tell that we are getting some information, we're setting some information. Okay, that's one. So uh, now I can show a lot of use case Python. That's the guys of it. This is great, right? So Flask actually, Ankit, is actually meant more for web technology. Even the Python, we have some framework available through which you can create mobile apps, but it is not so much mature. So for the mobile development, I highly suggest go for Dart language, means Flutter. That is it is more powerful, right? I don't suggest, even the Python has, but that is not so much powerful. Okay, but Flask is more for web app development.